Mr. Speaker, sir, according to the order paper, we are debating what actions Parliament should take, having received the report of the Committee of Privileges. But as the Leader of the House told us just now, the broader issue before us is how democracy should work in Singapore. What are the institutions, the norms, the values that are essential for our democratic system to function properly? How do we apply these general principles to specific cases, like the one before us now, so as to protect these institutions, norms, and values? And how can we secure our democracy for the future so that it can long deliver happiness, prosperity, and progress for our nation? These are the three more fundamental questions that I wish to discuss today. The quality of a country's democracy hinges on its people's values, what they judge to be right or wrong, what they deem important, the causes they espouse, the ideals they embrace. Whichever example you look at whatever point in history, you will find that good and functioning democracies have clear, strong norms. And these norms are upheld both by the governed and those who govern them, or those who aspire to govern them one day. And that is how healthy democratic systems can elect good, incorruptible people with the right values and drive a virtuous cycle where good democracy begets good governance and good governance begets good politics. This cycle must be underpinned and sustained by strong institutions. Parliament sits at the apex of our system of democracy. It's where the most important matters of state are discussed, laws are enacted, supplies of money are voted, with the government setting the direction and proposing policies, while answering to the public through Parliament, and the opposition holding the government to account, while also being a government in waiting, should the ruling party lose the support of the people. To fulfill its vital role, Parliament must be respected, and its members' processes and proceedings must be trusted. Clear norms and incorruptible values are essential to protect the dignity and standing of Parliament. The system cannot work if the standing of Parliament is called into question. And this is why we need to set the right norms of conduct among parliamentarians and guard them carefully. Tell the truth always and do the right thing by Singapore, even when it is hard or awkward. In fact, especially when it's hard or awkward. And if something goes wrong or something wrong has been done, own up and take responsibility. Do not hide, dodge, or spin further lies to obfuscate and cover up the original fib. The right norms can only be upheld by people with the right values, because norms are not merely social conventions that people comply with for appearance's sake. They have to be expressions of internal values that people believe in and hold dear. MPs must be people with integrity at their core, who speak and act in an upright manner, always putting duty before self and country before party. And our highest duty, our ultimate loyalty, is not to our party, but to Singapore. That is why, when taking office, MPs swear to bear truth, faith, and allegiance to the Republic of Singapore. In fact, this applies to everyone engaged in Singapore politics, MP or not. As Workers' Party cadre Ms. Loh Pei Ying, who was Mr. Pritam Singh's former assistant, told the committee, "It pains me greatly, but to me, beyond anything else, it's important to be truthful to my country. I believe every member of this House will agree with her. Our democratic system also depends on the people of Singapore, voters endorsing, insisting on, and backing the same norms and values, so that they can discern for themselves, as Ms. Loh did, when something is wrong, and hold accountable those in power or aspiring to power when their actions fall short of these high standards. That is how a democracy can function properly. Inculcating voters and their leaders with the right values is the work of decades. It takes unremitting effort and passion, and it doesn't always succeed. Most countries are founded and start off on the basis of high ideals and noble values. But more often than not, beyond the founding leaders and the pioneer generation, over decades and generations, gradually things change. Things start off with passionate intensity. The leaders who fought for and won independence are often exceptional individuals of great courage, immense culture, and outstanding ability. They came through the crucible of fire and emerged as leaders of men and nations. They are the David Ben-Gurions, the Jawaharlal Nehrus, and we have our own too. Imbued with enormous personal prestige, they strive to meet the high expectations of their peoples, to build a brave new world and shape a new future for their peoples and for their countries. But beyond that initial fervor, succeeding generations often find it hard to sustain this momentum and drive. They start out as healthy democracies with idealism and zeal, but over time, the tone of the society changes. All too easily, a slip here, a blind eye there, a fudge, a trim, and gradually things go downhill. The texture of politics changes. Respect for politicians declines. After a while, the electorate comes to think, this is the norm and you cannot expect better. And so, standards get debased, trust is eroded, and the country declines further. Many political systems today would be quite unrecognizable to their founding leaders. Ben-Gurion's Israel has morphed into one which can barely form a government, despite 4 general elections in 2 years. Meanwhile, a stream of senior politicians and officials in Israel face a litany of criminal charges. Some have gone to jail. While Nehru's India has become one where, according to media reports, almost half the MPs in the Lok Sabha have criminal charges pending against them, including charges of rape and murder. Though it is also said that many of these allegations are politically motivated. What is to prevent Singapore from going down the same road? Nothing. We are not intrinsically smarter or more virtuous than other countries. Modern Singapore does not come born with a fail-safe mechanism. Our founding fathers did their best to build strong foundations and institutions. Even after the Barisan Socialist, which was then the main opposition party, decided to vacate its seats in Parliament in 1966 and left the field entirely to the PAP, our founding fathers maintained our parliamentary democracy and multi-party system. As Mr. Lee Kuan Yew once explained, at that time, with the PAP completely dominant, he could have changed the constitution and made this a one-party state. But he deliberately chose not to, because he knew that without the need to contest and win elections, the governing party would over time become complacent and flabby, and that would be disastrous for Singapore. So the founding fathers took the more robust way. They kept politics contestable. They built up institutions, parliament, the judiciary, the civil service, the police and armed forces, and later the elected president and the Council of Presidential Advisors. To enable Singapore to operate on a more resilient basis, not dependent on a few key people pulling all the levers, pushing all the buttons, making everything work. Still, to operate these institutions, you need good people, and they needed to recruit, train, and deploy ministers, MPs, judges, civil servants, experts in many fields. People of ability and commitment, with a sense of public service, and above all with honesty and integrity, whom Singaporeans could rely upon to do their duty, put Singapore first, and make this country succeed. And that is how the system we have today came to be. It is incumbent on all of us, each succeeding generation, to protect and build upon this system that we have inherited. And this requires us to uphold integrity, enforce rules and standards, apply the same rules equally to everyone, make sure nobody is above the law. If we can do that consistently, persistently, unflinchingly, then we have a shot at making things work.
नफरतों का बाजार, सपनों का कारोबार जारी है। अच्छे दिन तो झांकी थे, अमृतकाल अब बाकी है। मन की बात आप तक पहुंचती है, लेकिन आपकी आवाज का क्या? जिन्हें लोकतंत्र का चौथा स्तंभ कहते थे, वे अब सत्ता की गोद में हैं, सत्ता के सामने नतमस्तक हैं। लेकिन अब भी कुछ आवाजें हैं, बेखौफ, बेबाक, जिन पर लोगों को भरोसा है। चेहरा बदला है, तेवर वही है। देखिए मुझे, सतीश शाह को, HWD न्यूज़ पर।